merged, and I couldn't find it either. I was-
Yeah.
At 7 this morning.
I guess they don't think it's an emergency, but fair enough.
Elections integrity, I thought that's everybody was
It's
waving their pitchfork was for election.
agreed. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I have the official time clock says. Thank you very much. It's 4 o'clock. And as per our agenda today, the Hill County Election Commission is meeting here this March 4th, Monday at 4 p.m. We are in the Hill County Courtroom, 80 North Waco Street, Hillsborough, Texas. And this meeting is being held both in person and online. An opportunity to view and hear the meeting was the address posted on the agenda, which was both posted on the county door and the county website as usual. Nobody signed up to speak no later than 4 p.m. today. Thank you very much. So we'll have nobody joining to speak online. Anybody in the meeting wishes to speak, obviously they can do so. So at this time, the first item on our agenda, as required by state law, is open forum. Is there anybody here to speak on subject that concerns the Election Commission that is either on our agenda or not on our agenda? Going once, going twice, going to see if Art is paying attention. Nope, he's good. All right, that means we can go along into number 2, which discussion regarding tabulation of incorrectly printed ballots. So and what I'm going to do here is give you a short rundown of the history of kind of what's happened the last couple of days and why we found ourselves to this, why we're having a meeting of the Elections Commission at 4 o'clock on a Monday before the voting day. It was brought to the attention, I believe, the first day of early vote that there was a mistake on the ballot, both the Republican ballot and on the Democrat ballot. There was candidate left off. Again, single candidate, it doesn't affect any of the contested races, but it needed to be there. So once that was determined, parties were notified by the election administrator that that was missing. The election administrator then, as my knowledge, contacted the state of Texas Elections Commission. I have an email here talking about the process to fix it and called our vendor Hart InterCivic. Hart InterCivic and the election people both responded. However, Hart did never respond in writing and refused to do so. I was hoping to have something in writing before 3 o'clock on Thursday. 3 o'clock on Thursday is my deadline because while we have the 72 hours in the Open Meetings Act that we have to post a meeting, I actually have to give the elections administrator 4 days notice. And there's no code, nothing in the elections code for him to waive that or emergency meeting. So that's why we're holding a meeting at 4 o'clock on Monday. Please forgive me. I know both party chairs are busy preparing for, but this needed to have some light shined on it. So anyway, my understanding, and anytime you correct me if I'm wrong on this, it's not my election, but I've had to get immersed in this by talking a lot. Will was really helpful in educating me on some of this. So as election administrator, basically here's the deal. That early vote first day, plus the mail-in ballots, those had a candidate missing, both Democrat and Republican. That was fixed. And then the second day of early vote, second day was his notes, thank you. So third day of early vote forward was a new ballot styles, which were the candidates were included. All right, so that means that we have 2 days of voting and the mail-in votes that they were scanned under an old election. What our Hart InterCivic told us, refuses to put in writing, was that the only way to fix this problem was to create a new election in the system. So what we had to do to add those candidates, create a new election. Because of voting integrity, those ballots that were already cast could not be run or scanned into this new election because they're different ballots. In order to correct that, so the people that voted those first day ensure their votes can be counted, there was 2 different ways of doing things. One way was hand counting. The other way was the duplication process we're going to talk about in a second. The drawback to hand counting, it's just like anything else with human interaction. It's a problem. The bigger problem is this. The only way to get those numbers by hand count into the Hart InterCivic product is to force them in. Unfortunately, the Attorney General made a change to Texas election law last year, whereby used to election law stuff was sealed for 18 months unless order of a court. He has since now said that no, there's a thing called a CVR. CVR stands for? Cast vote record. Cast vote record. The only way to get the hand counted votes into the cast vote record would be to manually force it. So it wouldn't show up on the CVR. What's it's going to show is that, let's say the number is 400 ballots we're talking about that we had to hand count. And we had hypothetically 10,000 votes. Well, we're going to show those votes, but we're only going to show 9,600 ballots because they won't show up in that cast vote. It won't show up in the file. I submit to you that is going to be a problem for us for all time. There are those people out there that look to create problems when the data doesn't match, when they're crawling the web. So the second process is one we've used before repeatedly. It's allowed in the Texas Elections Code, and it's gone over by our process, and it's called the ballot duplication process. And I got here is a handout that came from the elections administrator. I'm going to hand that to the two of you, so we're all on the same page when we're talking about it. And so what that ballot process is, we used to use it more common with ES&S. Remember the old system? You'd have a ballot that wouldn't scan for whatever reason. The ballot was, something you wouldn't read on it. It was torn, it was messed up. The ballot duplication process is the response that we got as preferred from the Texas Chuck Penny, and Chuck Penny's title is Senior Staff Attorney Elections Division. So this process is where you have what's called the Early Vote Ballot Board. This is appointed by the party chair sometime back. And these people will then take the ballot, and you want to go from here and describe the rest of that process?
So essentially this morning, we broke into the 3 ballot bags that we had for early vote. We sorted them out by precinct and then by party. Once they were sorted down by precinct and party, we counted them down. At that point, I had to print Verity print set up in the judge's chamber, Stuart.
No, Verity Print. We all know what it is, but for the general public.
Verity print is where the ballots print on demand when you guys check in to come and vote.
Good.
So we have 2 of those set up, and once we got a count of each ballot for each precinct, each party, we started to print them out anew. And then we started them duplicating the process.
So how does the duplication process work? Run us through that.
So the duplication, essentially right now we have it to where there's 6 people running. One person is essentially calling the ballot off while the other is filling it out currently. Then they each both sign off on it, initialing it, and then before it goes to the scanner, I'm actually looking it over once more.
Okay.
Just to re-verify that everything was actually correct. If I
So how
See,
many sets of eyes were on that ballot? The old ballot to the new ballot?
It's been about 8 of us.
Okay, and Democrat and Republican from all walks of life? Okay, good deal. Go ahead.
Once they've already signed off on them, I'll double check them again. If I find any indiscrepancies, I give it back to them to correct. After which point, once they've corrected it, I will take the duplicated ballot and then process it through the scanner, which is just scanning the ballot in. It's not tabulating.
And then just clarity on that, because I know that was a hanging point for several people when I talked to them, some very intelligent people as well. When we scan in, like I went in and voted the second week of early vote and I scanned my ballot in. You're telling me that day it did not count my vote.
It cast your record.
It cast my record, but it didn't count the vote.
No.
Because as I understand it from Hart when they sold this to us, there's actually software in there that will not allow tabulation of that
Correct.
until a certain time and date as by law.
So whenever I built the election, I put the times in as far as when each poll's closed. None of them can be closed until 7 o'clock on election day. At which point, that's when we will actually shut down the equipment that we are using, the scanners that we're using currently, and shut that down. That's when it will tabulate.
Okay, not until we shut all of
Give
it
us a
down.
tape, and then I pull the driver out and enter that into tape.
Good deal. So what happened today is ballot duplication process is not tabulating ballots.
No.
It was simply preparing the ballots for tabulation.
It would have been the exact same had they both been on the ballot on election day. We would have shut down those 3 early vote scanners, and then it would have actually tabulated at that point.
Okay, good deal, good deal. All right, that's the process we went through that happened this morning. So any flaws in that process this morning?
Not thus far. It's just slow rolling.
Okay.
Just trying to make sure every ballot is exactly as what the original was.
Oh, I mean, forgive me, are we still doing this process right now?
Yes.
So we called you away to this meeting where you're still, okay. So any idea, I knew that process would be time to talk, or take time talking to you. Well, how long do you think it'll
They're
take?
getting through the duplication process fairly quickly. But of course, I'm short with my staff actually preparing the handouts of the equipment and everything on my office, and we're on the other side of the building. So I'm short a few hands. So once they get done with that, they're in there, they can give me more eyes as far as proofing,
Okay,
and then that should go a little faster.
okay, well, I'm glad we didn't do this tomorrow during election day. I know the stress that happens on that. So I thank you for taking care of this ahead of time. I thank the party chairs for helping to get this taken care of ahead of time. I'm going to hand this email that I brought for myself, Ms. Cotton from Texas Elections. Guy Chuck Penny. So you've got a copy of exactly what was said. Also contained in that is when Aaron found the problem, his email to them. So it'll save you an open records request at a later date. That being said, that was what we're here to discuss, that tabulation. Again, it has no effect on anybody's final vote count, but transparency demands that we talk about what's going on when there's anything out of the ordinary. Again, duplication is not out of the ordinary. It's just to a duplication of a couple of hundred ballots is out of the ordinary. We want to be very clear and upfront with all parties, including our local media, why this had to happen and why this is the way going. I have full faith in the people that my party chairs, both Democrat and Republican, have appointed to do these jobs, that those people are fair and faithful people to the duties they have in front of them. To my knowledge, they signed affidavits prepared by the county attorney. They
There
would,
was one that has not signed just yet.
Yep,
so
never mind.
and tomorrow.
did you press somebody's arm? No, you know what? Don't answer that. I don't want to know. So anyway, we have, all parties have signed an affidavit on the ballot board saying that they did not tabulate, because I know that's a concern. Nobody wants to find out later, so-and-so called me and told me they knew how many. Nobody did that. These are people who've done this before. They're good citizens. They're voting citizens in our county. They've been selected by our chairs and approved, and I have full faith that they did the job that they needed to do. Again, they have all signed affidavits prepared by the county attorney that they did not tabulate. They simply prepared the ballot for tabulation. I know it's a fine hair to split. It's the same thing that the Elections Commission attorney split. But anyway, so that's discussion regarding tabulation of incorrectly printed ballots. Do we have any discussion action on election administrator report?
Not too terribly much right now, just trying to get through this process currently.
Real quickly, as of last week, we finished up our early vote on Friday.
Mhm.
Your thoughts on turnout? Up, down, in between?
Honestly, kind of feel like it's middle of the road. I mean, it was a good turnout for the 2 weeks, but I think it was still low for the 2 weeks. We've had.
Yes, you expected more. Okay, fair enough.
Like 2,800 voters, I believe.
Besides AT&T dropping the ball and cutting off phone service for all of us one day, were there any other?
No, that was the only
Issue?
issue hiccup we had that morning, and it was just here at the main location.
And we resolved that by pulling a different service in?
Yes,
Okay,
which I
good.
mean, technically you can still keep on checking in.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, once we got it, another connectivity and it was fine.
Again, for anybody listening at home, the voting machines are not connected to the internet. It's impossible. It cannot happen. However, we have a check-in system. Voter security, voter integrity is a huge priority for the Texas legislature and the governor, and to that end for us. So what we have is a system that's totally separate from our voting system, whereby we check, you show your ID, it says who you are. The reason that system and only that system touches the internet, so somebody couldn't go from Hubbard to Huron and vote twice. That's the whole goal of that. It's just an election integrity idea. So that system worked
Yeah, everything went fine other than
Good.
the hiccup with the internet that one morning.
okay, good. So no valid issues, nothing like that. Any major complaints through the process from anybody?
No, not that I could tell. I know there was confusion on the vote for none and one sections on there, which have been on there since we got the equipment. But yeah, I've seen a lot of folks either writing a 0 or a 1 in there in the actual.
Literally?
Yeah, literally.
Okay.
No complaints about a candidate following employees around. Not to you.
Not so maybe. I was asked about the candidate and what they could and couldn't be doing, but I gave specific guidelines. I even told the candidate that once they were done voting, if they didn't have any actual specific business, then they didn't need to be in the building.
Good job. We appreciate you doing that. Everybody needs to know those rules. All of us have to follow, and we are charged with enforcing those rules, and we'll do so accordingly. Okay, well, cool. Party chair reports, guys, anything?
I just want to say that the instance with this candidate's not being on there. Is the proof the ballot was sent to me, I approved it, so on my end, that's on me.
And I appreciate that. You're human. Mistakes are made. That's just how it is. And I appreciate the fact that everybody here spoke up immediately, talked about it, brought it to attention immediately, and dealt with a solution immediately. Because unfortunately, that wasn't always the case in the past. So I think we've come a long way on that, and I appreciate that.
My concern with this, so like I said, Aaron had called me Wednesday, the second day of early voting, to inform me we just discovered your name's not on the ballot. And we talked about it, and it's like, but I'm uncontested. It's like, no, for precinct chairs, if you're uncontested, are not on the ballot, but every county chair has to be on the ballot. So yeah, we talked back and forth. I'm not talking, so if we can just do this going forward, get it corrected, Tom needs one vote, I need one vote, we're good. So I didn't realize that we would run into this I thought that they'd already been gone through, that those would work. And so, I mean, I understand the technical glitch of having to change the election. But my concern all along has been for the candidates.
Correct.
Yeah, obviously, anybody says, we're gonna take the ballots, we're gonna remark them. Whoa! And, I mean, we talked the law, you know, the check, the double check, the sets of eyes, every step to be sure that the voters' intent is what happened. And I have no doubt that the election clerks and judges were doing that.
Correct.
My concern's always been for the candidates too. I mean, how in the world do you feel like somebody's touching a voter's intent on a
So
ballot?
do we get to know, I mean, I don't know,
Oh.
speaking as a candidate, do we get to know who was on the board checking, I guess?
She's your-
Yeah, it's public information.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's public.
So
It-
for Republicans, we had Karen Anthony, who has served previously
Oh, my
as an
goodness.
early vote ballot board judge.
Mhm.
Gloria Jose Cardenas, who had worked as election clerks before, Scott Anthony,
Mhm.
and then on the D side,
Susan Verity and Beverly Crane.
yeah.
So,
So, yeah, and all along in talks was yeah, we have good people, but how do you come up with a system that, without reproach is absolutely copying the voter's intent? And I think, you know, I don't know that there is a system spelled out.
It's the same process that the ballot board would take when we had the equipment.
Right, but I mean, there's nowhere in code that says if you have to correct a ballot, you'll have this many sets of eyes, this many sets of things, you
that's all
know.
promulgated. Yeah, you're right. The code
So-
speaks to the Texas Election Commission promulgating
Then-
rules, which are hard to find, frankly.
Yeah, there are none. I looked and could not find.
There's
So-
no reporting, like,
They
No.
only get like, even when in the advisory that they gave us, it only gave us really on destruction of ballots. And
Yeah.
that was
This-
printed ballots. not
This is a pretty
ballot
weird
information.
situation to
Yeah.
come up, and just like I said, and what the county judge was speaking to in the previous system, which is one of the benefits of a HART system, is if you voted by paper ballot and the scanner could not tell the voter's intent. Either you marked multiple ballots or didn't, or left a dot, the scanner couldn't tell what you wanted. That ballot was kicked to the side and 3 people, as a part of the central count station, looked at your ballot and determined what your intent was. And it's like, well, that's not right. Well, the other thing is the vote doesn't count at all. So that was, I mean, it's one of those kind of, people don't think about it, was the great thing with the HART system is if the scanner can't tell, it kicks it out right then and there so that the voter can say, that is, though this is my intent is, if the ballot is screwed up, the judge at that time can cancel that ballot, a spoiled ballot, and then the voter picks it and remarks the ballot, which is what we want, the voter marking the ballot.
Yeah.
So, like I said, this is, you know, it gets into, you know, the kicker with this, like I said, I didn't want the ballots touched until election day. And I said, well, don't transfer, let's hand count these things. I know it'll take a while, but transferring a voter's intent, no. It's an Aaron looks at, well, no, it is under code. I mean, I am allowed to do that, and he is. And yes, and to what the county judge spoke, there is a requirement of the electronic trail, if you will.
well, yeah, if you have both of the ballots there, right?
Yeah, we're gonna keep that as a permanent record. See, that's not a requirement under law, but we're going to make that. Because
Yeah.
each office can designate what they retain as permanent. So the original ballot will be stapled to the duplicate ballot and kept. For example, let's say that any party requested a recount, right?
Yeah.
Then they'd have access to those ballots. I don't know what the public access to that is inside that 18 months absent a court order, but since we'll keep it as a permanent record, any candidate can require a recount. Those ballots are right there in front of them for both of them. And so we're gonna,
It's unfortunate that this happened in terms of the candidates be left on the ballot that are uncontested and have no impact on contested races.
Yeah.
It is obviously the contested races that everybody is certainly concerned about.
So what about the ballots that were mailed out?
Same thing
same thing.
So the
When those come in, you'll have to get these people back.
tomorrow morning.
first, the early vote ballot board will have to do the work of the signature verification to be sure that that mailed in ballot
Mhm.
is the person requesting. That process still is going to happen.
Exactly.
Then once that ballot comes out, then you'll have to ascertain which day they came in.
I already had the envelope separated
Okay,
based on.
and then they'll have to go and do this exact same process again under the same supervision.
And it should be the same group as today.
Yeah.
So do you have so many days after election that you can still accept those mail-in ballots? Or-
I'll leave it.
Days, 6 days after it's overseas vote.
Yeah. Do we have any of those requested this time? Okay. You used to have about 2 or 3, but not this time. Okay, so, so you did. So that's, so we'll have all those ballots in then, so. But yeah, just, that was my concern all along, is for the candidates to be sure they were aware of what's going on. Like I said, I don't doubt the work of the early vote ballot board. It's just trying to communicate, to be
Agreed.
sure all parties are aware, about the process, and that's obviously the most important thing.
Yeah, thank you for that. Anything else from the Elections Commission? Any questions from the gallery? No, got it. All right, well, that's what we had on our agenda today, was that. I thank you all for the not short notice, 4-day notice, but thank you for coming in. I know everybody's got things going on, taking off this afternoon. As you guys know, our party chairs are volunteers, so thank you for making it in. All that being said, I hope that we have a great turnout tomorrow. The weather looks like it's going to cooperate. You're not going to let it rain, right? I'm going to blame you for that if it does. Anyway, I hope that the weather's good, and remind anybody. So in this case, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion in a second, and we shall stand adjourned. Thank you for your attention to these matters. So we've got this, good.